r/NoSleep. Posted by u/go Navy 27. My city has been cut off from the world and overrun with monsters. I have a set of rules to stay alive. Rule number 11, sometimes you are the monster. Part 5. I'm back. Did you miss me? I'll take the silent screen staring back at me as a yes. So, I've been trying to track down that girl. You remember, the one who flipped me the bird, vanished, and then left me a kind of snarky but kind of flirty note? Yeah, that girl. She apparently doesn't want to make it too easy for me, or maybe she's as cautious as I am about attracting monster attention. I can respect that. She should be. That's probably how we're both still alive. But goddamn, does it make it hard to find her? I got closest a few days ago, when I also discovered some worrying signs about the evolution of another monster. I had to update rule number 11. Made me sad. I don't like when I have to update my rules, both because it's a pain in the ass and because it means the monsters are developing. Monster developments are bad news. All it takes is me falling behind the curve one time and noticing something a little too late, and boom. I'm toast. Like if I hadn't noticed the Ashley's new trick. I mean, I like to think I'm smart enough not to take food from a stranger. Stranger danger has never been more real than in this hellscape, but honestly, if someone had offered me fresh fruit before I realized it was an Ashley? I don't know, man. I might be a soulless sack of skin. So anyway, a few days ago, I was out looking for the girl when Actually, you know what? I just read a book about a screenwriter. This house has an interesting assortment of books, okay. Let me try writing this like a movie script. Nothing to it, right? Extension empty city street, day. Eli strides confidently down the street, Mr. Bailey on his shoulders. He seems to be looking intently for something when, out of nowhere, a monster descends. Eli, oh, fuck. Mr. Bailey, meow. Okay, I just realized that this may not be the best kind of story for a screenplay. Well, I tried. It's true, though. I was walking down one of the streets near where I'd seen her the first time, scouring again for clues. I've been going back there every few days, never at a specific time or even 2 days in a row. A steady routine that's easy to predict seems like an invitation to get attacked, to investigate new places or check the same ones again, hoping for a hint. Because if I have to search this entire city without anything to go on, I guess I'm gonna be lonely forever. There's no way in hell I'd find her. I was heading towards a suspicious-looking wall to check it out when, out of nowhere, a monster did descend. It was just a Caleb, though. I will admit that it caught me by surprise and so I did yell, "Oh, fuck." But it was only because I was surprised, not because I was scared or anything. I feel like that's important to distinguish. Mr. B and I made quick work of him with my handy laser pointer, rule number 2, with only a few scratches to show for it. Again, mostly because of the surprise factor, not because it's better than me at fighting. I can't stress this enough. The Caleb likely wouldn't have gotten the drop on me if I'd seen it coming. But it was sneaky and evil, just like real Caleb was. Fuck Caleb. It was worth it, anyway, though the wall turned out to be a normal, non-suspicious wall. As I was standing in front of it, I saw something out of the corner of my eye. Something that looked very familiar and made my heart leap a bit. I turned towards it. And that's when the monster I actually wanted to discuss today showed up. Surprised me again, warranting another, fuck. As I jumped back. What is this monster, you ask? Great news. Sit down, shut up, and let me tell you all about it. This one's unique for a number of reasons. First of all, it's not named after a kid I hated in high school. I know, shocker. But not really, because this one is named after a teacher I hated in high school. I think it's a fitting name. I'll explain more in a second. Also, it doesn't actually kill you. That's right. It doesn't kill you. It might as well kill you, though, because what it leaves behind won't last long anyway. Have I confused you enough? Wonderful. I think it's best if I just tell you about my encounter and explain as I go. It'll make sense. Probably. Rule number 11, if you see a person you know, it's probably not that person. Always check their hands, and never accept anything they offer you. See, the monster now facing me beside the wall was a whole different kind of horrifying. It wasn't big, or hairy, or beastly. No, in fact, it was so scary because it was too human. More specifically, it was my mother. Like exactly my mother. A perfect clone. It made me want to cry. As I've mentioned, It's only been 9 months since the day I saw my entire family die horrifically, and if I'm not ready to discuss it on the internet, you can bet your ass I'm not ready to confront it face to face. And yet, here we were. This is a good time to expand in detail on the monster and its name. I named them Mrs. Jeffersons, affectionately known as MJs for short, after my chemistry teacher. The very same teacher who made me and Caleb work an experiment together that resulted in some sweet acid burns. She was also the kind of teacher who, when a kid would ask, "Can I go to the bathroom?" would respond in a mocking voice, "I don't know, can you?" Ugh. That's where their name comes from. Because these lovely dudes take the shape of humans, always someone their victim knows, to make the emotional struggle harder, I suppose, and they mimic the voices too, in a slightly twisted way. It just sounds off. Like you're hearing a recorded version of the voice, or something. The voice mockery is what made the name stuck. When it fits, it just fits, you know. That being said, I hate running into them, probably for obvious reasons. There are, however, two distinct differences between them and the humans they imitate, which make it possible to recognize them for what they are. 1, they don't have pupils in their eyes, though if you're close enough to notice that, it's probably too late for you anyway. And 2, they don't have fingers. That's right. Their hands just kind of end in 5 dark holes, like the openings to tunnels. More on that later. It occurs to me as I type this that maybe that's partially why the girl flipped me the bird when she saw me. Maybe it wasn't entirely as a fuck you, maybe she was also proving she was human and not an MJ. Food for thought. This MJ, so kindly taking the form of my mother, smiled a very creepy, not at all motherly smile at me. "Eli, come with me, sweetheart." God, it was torture. I always hate how they know my name. The smile was wrong, the voice was wrong, it was all wrong. But still, I wanted it to be right. My brain wanted to make excuses for the oddities, because if they didn't exist, then this could actually be my mom, and she might not be brutally dead, and she might have come back for me. Mr. B chirped at me from his perch on my shoulder, snapping me out of it. No matter what I wanted, the truth was that she was gone, and that this thing in front of me was not my mother. That didn't stop it from trying. It had on a desperate expression now, pretending to plead with me. "Eli, baby, I can get you somewhere safe. Just take my hand." There it was, the key phrase. It reached out a fingerless hand. I guess you're supposed to be entranced enough or maybe just crying so much that you don't notice the lack of fingers. I could see the hunger in its eyes, but it sure as hell wasn't a hunger to get me to safety. If I accepted, if I took its nasty little hand, I was done for. I pulled out my knife. "Bitch, please," I said. "She's been dead for months. You think you're fooling me?" The hunger changed to fury, and its face twisted in anger. I hadn't seen my mom's face look like that since I broke her favorite lamp in 2nd grade. "Fine," it said. "If you won't listen to me, maybe you'll wise up and listen to someone who you know is still alive." Honestly, that stopped me in my tracks, mostly because I was puzzled. I couldn't think of anyone I knew who was still alive. Well, except for me. My heart just about stopped as another MJ stepped out from behind the wall. And this one was wearing me, my face, my hair, even my current clothes. It was weird. I hadn't realized how long my hair had gotten. I decided right then that I'd be cutting it myself that weekend. I did, by the way. It looks much better now. Here's the thing about this situation, I've never seen more than one MJ attack at once. They're not really a tag team kind of monster. I've also definitely never seen one imitate the victim being targeted. This was new, and I had no idea where they were going with it, but I was sure it couldn't be good. I tightened my grip on the knife as Mr. B chirped nervously. The MJ version of me came to stand beside the MJ version of my mother, smiling at me the whole time. I waited to see what was about to happen. I didn't think they'd just jump me, because I'd refused to take the hand, and as far as I know, MJs can't attack if you don't accept their offer. It's one of those governing rules, I assume, like how vampires need an invitation to come in. "Fuck off," I said, hoping I sounded certain that they had too. Apparently they had another plan. MJ me said, in its twisted version of my voice, "Bitch, please," and then promptly turned and sucker punched my fake mother in the face. I yelped in surprise and fumbled with the knife, almost dropping it. MJ mom fell to its knees, and MJ me followed, clobbering it with punch after punch until blood ran down its face. I heard a crack. I'm guessing its nose had been broken. When the face was swollen and bloodied, MJ me moved onto the body. It began kicking, punching, slapping anywhere on MJ mom it could reach. I swear I saw bruises start appearing immediately. The worst part was, MJ mom started crying after that first punch, screaming in pain and yelling, "Eli, stop. Eli, you're killing me." And in response, MJ was gloating, it was revering in the suffering. It just got worse and worse, the beating, the victory cheers in almost my voice, the cries and pleading in almost my mom's voice saying, "Eli, I love you. What did I ever do to deserve this?" That last one got me, because my mom, the real one, didn't deserve how she died. I'd asked myself that same question every day since, and sometimes, I did blame myself for what happened to her. To all of them. So I finally couldn't take it anymore and squeezed my eyes shut, breathing hard, trying to focus on the sound of my rapid heartbeat over the sounds of me torturing my own mother to death. A second later, my own voice was in my ear. "You can make it stop," whispered MJ. "You can save her from another awful death. All you have to do is come with me. Just take my hand, and it will all be over. Just take my hand, and your mother will be fine." I won't lie, there were several moments where I considered it. Where I thought about letting it end, where I considered exchanging myself for my mother. But the last words were what stopped me, "Your mother will be fine. She wouldn't be fine ever again." Watching myself kill her was maybe the worst psychological torture I'd experienced in this hellscape or even before it, which is saying something, considering the shit Caleb put me through, but stopping my own pain wouldn't bring her back. Hell, maybe I even deserve the pain of watching this. So I opened my eyes and said, "Not today. Also, your hair is too long," and then I brought my own arm up and punched it in the face before it could react. Ha, karma's a bitch. I was angry, too, so I just kept going. Punching and punching, even when it was on the ground, like it had done to the MJ version of my mom. I might have been screaming during this as well, I think I blacked out a bit, to be honest. But my throat was raw afterwards, so I'm assuming there was some wordless, furious screaming involved. Mr. B helped by jumping on MJ mom's face and clawing at its pupilless eyes incessantly while I was occupied with its partner. When they were both barely conscious and I was breathing heavily, sweating bullets, I staggered to my feet and grabbed a brick from the crumbling wall beside us. The good news about things going to shit, makeshift weapons everywhere. I stood over MJ mom first and said, "You sound nothing like her," before bringing the brick down on its head over and over with all the force I could muster. It wasn't as hard as you'd think. Mr. Bailey kept an eye on the other me until I was ready for its turn. I crouched beside it, and since its eyes were still intact, unlike its friends, I flipped at the bird and said, "Bet you wish you had fingers to do that, huh? Fucker." Then I crushed its skull too. I hardly remember doing it. I know I did, though, because afterwards, my arms were stained with blood up to the elbows, and my shoulders were sore for the next 3 days. Fun times. See, to kill an MJ, you have to crush their brains completely. Just fucking smoothie their heads. I think it has to do with what they do if you take their hand. You're probably wondering what happens by now, right? Especially since I said they don't actually kill you. Well, that's true. They don't. But those little dark holes where their fingers should be? If you accept their offer, they put those not fingers to your head and painfully, quickly, suck out your memories. I've seen it happen. They latch on like human leeches. The black holes pull out what look like pearls but are, in fact, everything you've ever known, and seconds later, you're a shell. Not unlike someone brain dead, I imagine. You can walk, and you're still technically alive, but you remember nothing. Everything that makes you, is gone. And in this world, that means you'll be gone soon too. It's hard enough surviving here with all my rules and memories intact, as a shell of your former self, with no knowledge of anything. You'll be dead in hours, if not minutes. The monsters aren't dumb. Even they can appreciate an easy meal when it just wanders around and doesn't put up a fight. MJs feed on those memories, I think. My working theory is that they store all of them in their own heads, which is why you have to crush their heads to kill them. If you don't, if you, say, just stab them or shoot them or even behead them, they will heal and survive. Only way to guarantee they stay dead is to make soup out of their brains. Real fun stuff, you know? Anyway, after that I was finally able to walk over to check out that familiar thing I'd seen out of the corner of my eye before the whole MJ mess. The next building over was an old shop or boutique of some sort. I couldn't read the sign through the dried blood on it, with a big glass display window in front. The glass, miraculously, wasn't broken. Now, I definitely walked by this place before, and there'd been a naked half mannequin, you know, the kind that's just the upper half of the body, lying in the window. That was it. But this time, it was different. That mannequin was sitting upright, and it was no longer bare. Instead, it was wearing a green jacket. The very same green jacket I'd seen the girl wearing. Even with my arms dripping blood up to the elbows, I broke into a smile. Because that wasn't all, the jacket had a note clipped to it. I went into the store, keeping an eye out for any monsters lurking inside. There weren't any, and unpinned the note. It was in the same handwriting as the first one she'd left, and it said, "I speak without a mouth and hear without ears. I have no body, but I come alive with wind. What am I?" It took me reading it a few times to understand what was happening here, but I finally got it through my thick skull. She'd left me a riddle. Which means she wants me to find her, but she also wants to test me first. I've got some work to do. I also had to update rule number 11 after that encounter with the MJs. Rule number 11, if you see a person you know, it's probably not that person. Always check their hands, and never accept anything they offer you. Addition, if you see yourself, just fucking leave. It's not worth the pain. Because it really wasn't. It turns out there's nothing worse than seeing my mom be tortured and killed by a monster the way she was, except that monster being me.